not interested.
Hey guys, Pater Franson here from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions, giving you my reactions now to the PC gaming show for E3 2019. I gotta say, this show is getting better, I think, and more relevant to me as primarily a console gamer every year, and this year certainly stepped it up in nearly every respect. I'm not going to go through everything. There were a ton of games there, and I think that it's a show that's definitely more and more worth watching if you've never considered watching it before. And it's the kind of show you could pop on while you're just playing, like many of these conferences are, that you could pop on just while you're kind of playing a video game or doing something else, and just kind of glance over now and then to see when something interests you. And there's just a bunch here. I am kind of curious about Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 coming first quarter of 2020, and I think that's coming to consoles as well, but I'm not sure at this point. So yeah, that could be, up my alley. It's a dark, RPG type of experience, but the first one that really caught my interest, oddly enough, does not look like an RPG, and that's Moons of Madness, which is coming out this Halloween on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, as well as PC, of course. And I don't have a sense of what kind of game it is, but it looks like Lovecraftian space horror with like weird, nasty gore aliens or slimy aliens of some kind. It just looks like my kind of space monster movie turned into a video game. So it may be too scary and too difficult for me to play, but I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes out for Moons of Madness this Halloween. Next, catching my interest was Age of Wonders Planetfall, which is from the long-running Age of Wonders strategy series, and I'm really interested in this because I like sci-fi, and so I'm not normally into like building colonies and doing like turn-based battles and stuff, but if you add sci-fi to it, then it'll definitely catch my interest, and it is coming to consoles on August 6th. So I'll definitely at least be checking out reviews for that. I doubt that I'll review it myself, but it has my attention. One thing that I liked that came up at one point when they were getting ready to talk about Borderlands 3, they were inviting people to send in their questions to be asked during a Q&A section that was going to be coming later in the show, and the host said, it doesn't matter what platform you're on, just send your comments. And that really caught my attention, in addition to a number of other times throughout the show where games being featured would have a description at the bottom that included all the platforms they were going to be appearing on, not just PC. And to my memory, which is admittedly crappy, this might be the first time they've done that at the PC Gaming Show, made a point of saying, as they feature these games, that they're also coming to these other consoles, making this show far more than ever before, to me, relevant as a console gamer, who doesn't have a PC that's going to be able to play some of these high-end games, but wants to know which ones are coming to console. And so it was a very console-inclusive type of experience, and I really appreciated that. One thing that the show still has some room to improve on is just kind of the execution polish. There was a number of times where music cues, were coming at the wrong times, or microphones weren't working, or they were on for somebody who had left the stage and was going about their business in the background. There was just like, as far as the technical execution, they definitely could have used some more rehearsal, but that's really the only serious kind of like a flaw in that I think that the show has. It's really improved a lot over the years. The next thing that caught my attention was Ancestors, coming out on August 27th. This is a game that gives players the opportunity to play in I think an open world type of system, the like primates and stuff, and the primordial ancestors, if you will, if you agree with that view of humanity. I think it's probably going to be a controversial game, at least for Christians, or at least some Christians. But it doesn't really interest me. I don't, whether or not apes are my ancestors or not, I don't want to play as monkeys. Monkeys are silly, and I don't want to play as silly animals. So that's not the game for me. But possibly a game for me will be Borderlands 3. We'll see. I didn't feel like Borderlands 1 and 2 were really good as single player experiences, so I ultimately gave up on those. But they did feature a nice Q&A for Borderlands 3, and since it's not really been featured in any of the other shows at E3, the big stage shows, I thought it was cool that it was being given some time here and getting some questions answered. It definitely is going to be including a single player campaign, and there were other questions that may or may not be relevant to your interests, but you can check out that feature, that section of the PC Gaming Show if you're interested in Borderlands 3. That's coming out September 13th on PC and on consoles. The game that might be the like my game of the PC Gaming Show is called Maneater, and this was featured last year on their stage. It's an open world action RPG where you play as the shark. It's basically like you playing as Jaws, and you start out as a little baby shark, and you are growing in both size and maturity and abilities over time. There are elements of unrealism involved because you can actually put skill points as you gain the experience points. You can put points into like mutated lungs so that you can spend a little bit of extra time wriggling around on a dock or on a beach to get a little snack. And so you're going to be eating other sea creatures and, of course, lots of people. And in their footage this year, they introduced who is the main nemesis of the game, who's this really like the greatest fisherman in the reef or something like that. And he's kind of like your ultimate nemesis in the game. And this is being put out by Tripwire, the president of which, John Gibson, is a Christian, and that doesn't really make me, especially want to play this game, but it does make me more interested in supporting it if it's a game that I'm already going to be drawn toward. And hey, an open world action RPG is already my thing, and this unique angle of playing as a great white shark, basically Jaws, is really, really intriguing to me. So there's no release date yet, and I don't even know for sure if it's coming to console, but I just have to hope that it is. I think that trend is increasing. Even in Tripwire, their Killing Floor game, Killing Floor 2, not too long ago, came to consoles, and so I think they're wanting to broaden their audience and have consoles in mind based on that. And an open world action RPG, that type of game just typically lends itself to console play very well, so I have to assume and hope that it is coming to consoles. They said, John Gibson said that it will be coming hopefully before the next PC gaming show. He said soon, before the next PC gaming show. So sometime within the next 12 months, hopefully, I will be playing and enjoying Maneater on console. The next game that interested me was Telling Lies from the developers of Her Story, which, if you're not familiar with that game, I haven't played it yet, but hearing about Telling Lies made me want to go and check it out. Basically, this company is both Her Story and Telling Lies are about making your way through footage that people recorded, so it's kind of like a found footage game experience as opposed to a found footage movie type experience, and it's non-linear, so you're sifting through these clips that people recorded that are interviews, or that they recorded themselves with their phones or whatever, and you're using keywords in each of these videos, because there's subtitles for each of the videos, and you're using keywords to unlock and find other videos in this vast, disorganized collection of videos, and you're trying to piece together some kind of mystery, some kind of puzzle of what happened. That was definitely the deal with Her Story, which, in that case, all of those were interviews that were supposed to have been recorded as part of like police interrogations or police questioning and that kind of thing. But these videos in Telling Lies seem to be more a variety of people that are making videos of themselves with webcams or cell phones and things like that, and you are likewise piecing together a mystery. This one had a little bit of content that might be a little bit too risque for me, but it did make me interested in hearing more about the game in the future, and it renewed my interest in maybe giving Her Story a try, since I haven't gotten around to that yet. And then finally, arguably the biggest announcement, especially from a PC gaming perspective of the PC Gaming Show, was Baldurs Gate 3. 3. Now, this wasn't really a reveal properly because Baldur's Gate 3 was already revealed in Google's Stadia event. So, but we did get them on stage. We got the developers on stage. They told us just a little bit more. They said that right now they're not giving any details outside of what's already seen in the trailer. But one detail they did give that probably can't be figured out from the trailer is that this game takes place 100 years after Baldur's Gate 2. And the only thing they've said about when it's coming out is when it's ready. They really want to take their time, and I think they are absolutely going to do that. That's probably a value that they would have held high when they agreed to make this game, even though it's a game they were really excited to make, had wanted to make for a long time. They have a history as a company of really having difficulty putting out solid games when they are working for someone else, because if they have a publisher that has them on a timetable, then ultimately they're not able to release the games the way they want to release them. But once they became more independent and released Divinity Original Sin and Divinity Original Sin 2, they were really able to release both of those games in a very, very polished state, and they were celebrated by gamers both on PC and then later when they came to consoles. And so that kind of clout, I think, is what certainly allowed them to be given license to do the Baldur's Gate 3 game. And I think that along with that, I'm sure they are ensuring that they will have all the time they need to make the Baldur's Gate 3 they want to make. They really added a bunch of staff to their studio to work on this, so it's probably going to be bigger and more expansive and higher quality, or higher budget, I should say, at least, compared to the Divinity Original Sin games. That's certainly my impression anyway. The question for me is, is it still going to be top-down? Is it still going to be real-time with pause? We didn't get any details on what the gameplay is going to be like compared to previous Baldur's Gate games, so I think we've got a long time still to wait. I think probably we won't see this game in action significantly until at least next year's E3, which is a bit of a bummer. Normally I don't like to get announcements that early, but it's understandable that with a property like this, they would want to make some kind of announcement, at least to say, hey, we're working on this. Is it coming to console? That's still totally up in the air, but I have to assume that because Larian Studios brought both of their Divinity Original Sin games to console, and because there is an increasing movement toward bringing PC games, especially, really successful ones, to console, I think it's very, very likely that Baldur's Gate 3 will be coming to console as well. So anyway, yeah, the PC gaming show, a really great experience, and one that it just made me all the more glad that I have come back to watching this show every year. So I recommend you check it out too if anything I've said interests you. All right, let's look at my jaded predictions and unrealistic wishes and see which ones came true for the PC gaming show. My only jaded prediction was that the heavily charismatic hosts will be working from a script that makes me want to groan and roll my eyes frequently. I don't know if my disposition was a little bit better this year or not. It was admittedly a minor issue that I had last year. It wasn't, I didn't want to groan and roll my eyes frequently. There was maybe one time where I was like, oh, this is not my style of presentation that I would prefer, but it still feels very presented, very scripty, and very much like I'm in an announcer voice mode, but it was much better than it could have been for my taste. My only wish, I had two wishes, that first, they would cover single-player strategy and RPG-style games, and that will also be coming to console, but aren't getting attention in other big shows, as well as PC-exclusive games with low system requirements that my PC will run. Yes, and then some. This came true. We got Age of Wonders Planetfall, we got Borderlands 3, we got Maneater, I hope, coming to console, and Baldur's Gate 3, I hope, coming to console, so absolutely that was granted. And finally, I wish that we'd see indications that the gap is getting smaller between PC and console gaming. It felt like that this whole show was about narrowing that gap. So anyway, still more to come from me this week, and also please check out Spirit Blade Legacy Edition, our free audio drama available for you to listen to right now at at youtube.com/ChristianGeekCentral. Thanks. Bye-bye. I've created some new tiers for our Patreon. On top of many of our original perks, I've added Discord live events, spoiler chat videos, and more. You can get all the info at patreon.com/SpiritBladeProductions.